that's why I feel movies, they play a big role in NRI culture or non-resident South Asian culture, because I
Exactly.
think this is this middle space where you can enjoy being Indian from a distance.
Shah Rukh Khan in the 90s, but as much as I talk about him in the 2000s. And I think Chak De India, Kal Ho Na Ho, and Dawn.
Oh
Dawn to
yeah.
talk about later. And also Swades, and there were many movies in 2000s that Shah Rukh Khan was iconic in.
Know that there are desis living in these countries. They have
Yeah.
they are audience, so we need to cater them to as well. So I
Mm.
read somewhere that NRIs are nothing but an extended family of India. And that's how I feel, that even though I'm not part of the mainstream Indian culture, but somehow the things that I do, they become part of that culture, right? Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. I really want to watch Dil Chahta is one of them because it talks about friendship. And to me, I think friendship is one of the most, after family, friendship is one of the most sacred relationships anybody could have. And we always have these two few friends that we always, always, always had. Hi everyone, welcome to part 2 series of the film podcast. And in today's podcast episode, we will be talking about the movies in 2000s. And in order to do this, Anushray and I have actually Anushray specifically has found a list of movies that we will be talking about, and we'll be rating them, as to how we really found the plot to be, and how much would we rate them as, because we all have different tastes and we all have different takes about different movies. And I'm very excited to be talking about 2000s movies because I've been quite a Bollywood movie fanatic all my life. So yeah, what do you think, Anusha? How is it going to work out?
Yeah, for me, as in the last episode, we talked about that. We mostly talked about 70s, 80s, and 90s, most particularly 90s, because both of us, we sort of grew up in the 90s. But most for me, particularly, I resonate more with the 2000s. So I was born in year 1995. So I was a
Mhm.
baby when we were talking about all the classic 90s movie. But again, they were so recent that any younger millennial Gen Z, they have an exposure to that. But to be honest, like my first experiences of actually going to a theater, when watching a film as a kid, where I can actually remember any and everything, I think that those were 2000s, right? And again, I grew up watching Hindi Bollywood films in the 2000s, right? So those were the films that had the most impact on me as a creative person, as someone who just loved films in general. Like I love films of all languages, but again, I grew up watching Hindi Bollywood films of the 2000s, right? So I have a special relationship to them. So I feel like I found a list of best Bollywood films of the 2000s worth watching. This has been created by an user on IMDb. So I'm pretty sure almost everyone here are familiar with what IMDb is. So IMDb is one of those websites, one of the biggest movie databases that you can almost find any film title of any language. And I feel it's a good sort of a source. Just one thing. I do not agree with all the ratings that IMDb users give, because a lot of time what happens is some people love this particular actor, so they'll highly rate some films, so that a film that is just mediocre will get a higher rating because of the fans for that particular actor. And some films which are great, but because they have some controversial political opinion or social opinion, people would just hate on it and will give it some negative ratings, right? So IMDb is a little controversial, I would say, in that sense. But anyways, it's a good resource. What do you think about IMDb? Do you use IMDb, Tasneem, just to check
I
reviews?
Yeah, so more than anything, actually, I'm very dependent on IMDb. But the thing is, from what I understand, is that movies are very subjective, you know.
Mm,
Everybody's choices of what kind of movies they like is very subjective. For example, just giving you an example, I love Abhay Deol movies, and Abhay Deol is actually, for me, I feel like he's pretty much, as he called himself. I think he called himself, or Rahul Khanna did, and he said he's a boutique actor, right? Not
hmm.
everybody would like his movies or the kind of movies he does. So I always think from a very critical point of view. Like, even if I'm checking IMDb, the first thing I notice is this genre something that I would really want to watch in the first place, and then who are the who is starring in the movie, right? And then based off of that, I kind of go with it. There were some surprises out there as well who had like less IMDb rating, but the movie was really good.
No,
So
exactly. That no, you are definitely right that movies are subjective, and IMDb, it's a good resource uh to get to know about a lot of cool stuff, right? Like how much,
mm,
what was the budget of the film, how much did this film earn, who were the cast, right? There's like a long list of cast that you can find on IMDb. But again, movies are so subjective, right? There could be one movie that has gotten really bad ratings on IMDb, and personally, you and me would say, oh, we love this particular film. Why has this gotten such a low rating? But again, movies are so subjective, and it has happened with me that I love a particular film, and a lot of people, they don't really like it, right? And
mm,
sometimes what happens is that a lot of people like one film, and I watch that film, and I feel that it's overrated. So I feel that no one no one person should be a judge of anything. Just watch
mm,
watch things that you like, and if you agree with someone, that's great. If you disagree with someone, everyone has the right to their opinions, I guess. But yes, Abhay Deol is someone we'll definitely talk about. He is one of those actors that I really admire. His choices are really bold and way ahead of its time. So I think he doesn't want to, I would say, box himself as this leading Hindi
mm,
film actor, but rather someone who just want to experiment with a lot of stuff.
mm,
But yeah, so 2000s. So just quickly recapping. So we sort of related that 50s, 60s Bollywood was this golden black and white era. It's almost like this golden Bollywood age. We are figuring out storylines, filmmaking ideas. It's very classical. It's a very classic era. A lot of time Mughal, a lot of uh, beautiful Kishore Kumar, Mohammed Rafi songs from that era. Then Shammi Kapoor's ruling the 60s, 70s. Then in 70s, we got, I feel in 70s, color films became really popular. Then we got Amitabh Bachchan, Dharmendra, led Sholay. Then there were other films we talked about. 70s was more about this stoic hero, this silent, angry type hero who is just fighting on all the social evils of India. And then in 80s, it was more about disco, flamboyance, being out there, Mithun Chakrabarti, Papilleri, disco dancer. You see, right? And 80s was masala bat, like one hero, 100 villains,
yeah.
villains, very stereotypical villain, just stealing your girlfriend, your wife,
Yeah.
your mother, and you have to take the badla, the revenge in the 80s.
Mm,
But 90s, uh, it shifted to romance, to foreign locations, to your NRIs who are desis living in Pardes, in Videsh, right? Uh,
mm,
you see a lot of young Indian actors wearing Western brands, right? It's more about young people. Young people mostly care about love, romance, uh, silly stuff, right? Still silly daily stuff. And also you had a lot of infidelity movies, right? Husband cheating on wife, second wife, third wife. We talked about a lot of that, right? So
mm.
90s was more about coming into what we were experiencing in daily life. Now, let me ask you this. How do you see 2000s compared to 90s now? What changes do you see moving to this new millennia, right? 21st century.
There are lots of things that come to mind when we talk about movies in 2000s. Number one is the first 10 years of 2000s, right? So when we talk about 10 years of 2000s, I would definitely say it was Dil Chahta Hai that really broke the whole record of movies being produced and directed in a different way, with the different plot, with the kind of movies that were being made. Mohabbat was one of them as well. I think Mohabbat was in 2000s. And besides this, we had Kal Ho Na Ho in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
So what I think, if you were to ask me, really, stories got better, music got much more modern, and the cinematography and the coloring, the quality, the production quality of movies, along with plots, really got much better. So I think, that was like a game changer. I think 2000s were like, they're still a game changer now. Like, imagine now we have OTT platforms where movies are being released, and we have like series being released right now as well. So, I really see 2000s being the new era for new movies and better movies.
Yeah. So let me just so when you say OTT, I feel we are just discussing 2000s as in 2000 to 2010. Then we'll do
Yes.
another video. I genuinely feel that after 2010 everything changes. We also had this switch of moving to watching on YouTube, watching films on our
Yeah.
phones. Also also now after 2015 watching a lot of things on OTT, Netflix, Prime, and then after pandemic, to be honest, no one really goes to theater anymore, right? We go to theater
No.
for that one particular film that we feel we need to experience. But as far as I can see, that theater culture of the 2000s, that multiplex culture has sort of died down. Yes, 2000s multiplex culture. So this was pretty new in India. This in the States, multiplex culture, if I don't know if you know this, multiplex culture was sort of propelled by Steven Spielberg's films like Jaws, by E.T., by Jurassic Park, those sort of summer blockbuster, Back to the Future. These films actually created these companies where the United States, they started creating multiplexes so that people can come and watch these big budget films uh, during summer. It's not that theaters always exist, small theaters, but this idea of multiplexes where one particular space is playing multiple shows, right? Five films
Mhm.
together. And if you remember, in India, maybe in Bangladesh, in South Asia, in our subcontinent, multiplexes started coming after 2000s, right? We were getting
Mhm.
these new malls in Delhi. I lived in Delhi, so we used to, we had one mall. We used to drive there, watch this film. It was such an experience, right? Because my first memory of watching my first like few films were these very small theater, like one screen theater, where you had balcony, you had these cheap seats that were in the front, people were whistling. It was an experience. But then we moved to this air conditioned, beautiful red cushion seats. You had these amazing sort of cafeteria where you can get popcorns, nachos. You get the point, right? It's sort of like the culture sort of involved as the countries were involving as well. So that's why film got better production. Uh, Actors were rocking better fashion sense, better
Mhm.
music, because a lot of these actors and musicians, they were actually listening to a lot of English songs, a lot of Western, they were also consuming Western culture, and then they were sort of mixing it with their Indian sensibility, right? So it's not originally Western, it's not Indian, but it's rather this mixture of something more interesting. So that's why Dil Chahta Hai, you can see this idea of this westernized urban Indian friend group, right? That
Mhm.
that is really comfortable when they go to Australia, but they are also very comfortable just being in India, right? So first time we are able to see that the country also has this growing middle class who is
Mhm.
watching a lot of content from outside. So I'm just contextualizing this, right?
Mhm.
All right. So now let's talking about films. Okay. So the first film on, do you want to guess which is the top rated films of the 2000s? So between 2000 to 2010 by IMDb
Oh my
user.
God. I think I would really like to debate about the mega blockbuster movie called Kabhi Kushi Kabhi Gum versus Dil Chahta Hai, I guess.
Oh
But there's so
yeah,
many other
yeah.
movies. Kal Ho Na Ho, Kabhi Kushi Kabhi Gum, Dil Chahta Hai. Either of these
Oh yeah,
would,
think about these. I think these should be your top three, and that's great. Think about the highest rated that you feel the users would have collectively rate them as high. Again, as you mentioned, right, that rating doesn't mean that film is bad or good. Just think
yeah,
about one film that everyone loved. Like it was universally considered that okay, this is something that it's critically acclaimed as well and commercially too. I'll
Kabhi
give you
Kushi
one.
Kabhi Gum.
No, again, Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum has a lot of lovers, but it's not considered as something that's critically acclaimed. Okay, I'll give you a hint. It has
Okay.
Aamir Khan.
Oh, Aamir Khan. I mean, Dil Chahta Hai.
Again,
Lagan.
no, Lagan is there. Okay, I'll give you another hint. It's way late 2000.
Oh, wow. Way late 2000.
Yeah,
Which one was it later from Aamir Khan? There were so many.
it's
Uh,
okay.
the
I'll just
Gajni? Okay.
no, 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 no. So the first movie that's I think it's aptly rated is Three Idiots. It came out around two.
Oh,
It came around 2009,
mhm.
starring Aamir Khan, Madhavan, Sharmin Joshi, directed by
Yes.
Rajkumar Hirani. I love this film so much. I remember, so I was in ninth standard. I remember going with my family. So I used to live in the suburbs in Delhi, Noida.
Mhm.
We had a lot of bunch of malls now in 2009. It's such pretty urban center, and we actually booked our ticket in advance. We watched the film. It was packed theater, and it was just like people were just laughing. I think those were one of my movie going experiences where everyone that I can see around me, they were just enjoying each frame. And that film I watched like I think at this moment I watched it 10 times on reruns on OTT now, and it still holds up. Again, it's one of Amir Khan's best performances. The writing is solid, the comedy gags are solid, all the supporting actors, each of those supporting actors are bang on. So yeah, it has got an 8.4. So pretty solid rating, considering IMDb, right? What do you feel about Three
Yeah.
Idiots? Do you like it?
I love Three Idiots. So it's one of my comfort movies. If you were to ever ask me, like this name, you had a hectic day, or you had a bad day, what are the kind of movies you would like to go back and watch? Three Idiots is definitely in my top five, if not top three. But I don't think I could pick which ones out of my top five I would rate number one. But Three Idiots, my memory about Three Idiots is also similar to yours. I was in high school and I went with a bunch of friends in Dubai watch that movie. And it was like I think I didn't even watch the trailer, so I didn't really know what was going on. But I knew for a fact that I'm a big Amir Khan fan. So every year, whenever he used to release a movie, call it Taare Zameen Par, or it was Gajni, or whichever movie, I just went blindly for it. So Three Idiots was a big surprise, and it was so good. Like I'm not a big fan of Kareena Kapoor Khan, but she really won my heart in that movie because she was like, for a change, I felt like she was a breath of fresh air, like with the comic sense and the timing and everything. Besides that, of course, the supporting actors, I'm a big fan of Armadon, and I'm going to get back to you on that. So I felt like it was a complete package, and it really, the reason why I think people really related to Three Idiots was because studying engineering in South Asia, I would like to say, it's very challenging. And most of the times, we find out that kids have pursued engineering because their parents have asked them to do. They say, right, "Hamara beta, hamara naam roshan karega," and everything. So I think because they could relate to maximum people in South Asia, it was also a big hit. It talked about the sensitive part of studying engineering or not following your heart. It talked about the fact that you can at the last moment you can decide to you can decide to change your career all of a sudden. It's okay to go for wildlife photography if you really like that. On the other side, people say that, like for example, Amir Khan's character, it was like they didn't even know who he was. And he was such a smart guy. Like he was never meant to be studying engineering, but then life got him to this point. So it's like it's so relatable. I think movies are only popular because they could relate, they could connect the dots with everybody's hearts, and they captured it pretty well.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And fun fact about 3 days, this is something I recently discovered. So, because 3 days had this universal message of people studying in engineering or any other
Mhm.
profession where they don't really feel that's their calling, it actually had a worldwide audience. So this was not only a hit in India or South Asia. When I say South Asia, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and even Dubai has a lot of Desi population. So as you mentioned,
Mhm.
you watched this film in Dubai. So Dubai has a lot of that audience. But Chinese people, they watched this film and they loved this film so much that it was a huge hit in China. And then I also recently discovered that one of my students who came from Colombia, when I was talking about this, he mentioned that, hey, I watched this film in Colombia. Pe-
Wow.
People everywhere in Colombia, in South America, they watched that. I'm like, why was that? Because he mentioned that in Colombia, parents also force their kids to take engineering or medical
Mhm.
profession over a creative profession like photography, right? So
Mhm.
because of this universal message, this was a huge hit in China, in Middle East, in South America. So that's why this film is sort of just not an Indian film anymore, but rather an universal story, right? So yeah.
Exactly.
Now the second film is again Amir Khan. Amir Khan ruled the 2000s. Undoubtedly. He just
He
used
was
to
the
do like
king.
just one or two films a year, but those were, and now this film is one of my absolute favorites. It's Rang De Basanti. Uh,
Oh my God, Rangda Basanti.
it it
Yes.
it
How could
has
we
got
forget that
it has got
legendary
a
movie?
so it has got an 8.1. I would rate this as 10. I would rate Three Idiots as 10, but okay, collectively, anything above 8 is actually a very good rating. That's what I've realized in my experiences, sort of browsing through IMDb over the years. Yes. So Rang De Basanti, it's starring Amir Khan, Soha Ali Khan. It had one of these actors. He's mostly famous in South India, Siddharth. I don't know if you know about him. He
Yeah, I know
is amazing.
him.
He is like Abhay Deol in that sense that he has very offbeat choices, but I really like his sort of screen presence and personality overall.
Mhm.
Sharman Joshi as a side actor, he was always there, but a solid actor, I consider him. And also R. Madhavan is also there just for a little bit. A little cameo is there for R. Madhavan here as well. And this is directed by Rakesh Om Prakash Mehra, I would consider him one of the
Biggest
yeah
director.
one of the
Yeah.
one of the best directors in Hindi cinema. I love this film because this film came around 2006. Again,
Hmm.
I was very young. Again, now this film, I was very young. I was in sixth standard, and I had a vague idea of some sort of political ideas that happens in India in general.
Mhm.
But after watching this film, I realized about corruption. I realized about youth rebellion. I realized about these idea of revolutions, right? So this film, as a kid, it really informed my idea of what social change is, what youth rebellion is. Do you remember the story of? Do you remember the plot of Rang De Basanti?
Definitely. Yes, yes. I remember it because I still watch the movie and I love the music. So
Yeah,
I
I
think
think.
what
Sorry,
yeah,
my
tell me.
bad. No, nothing. I just like there was like a plan, so it just fell. Okay, sorry, go on. My bad. I got
Okay.
distracted.
No. I was saying that, Rangdevasanti, I think it could also touch the hearts of NRBs, NRIs, or, whoever lived even, out of the country, because when I watched Rangdevasanti for the first time, I was bawling my eyes out. Like I was just
Mm.
crying because I felt like, imagine, if somebody had to go through that loss as a mother, because of some, gaps within the
System.
government system or whatever, right? And also, this whole, because I think you and I, we were in high school that time, like we were in school, that sentiment of being a rebel is more present. I always feel like, we're teenagers, we're rebels, we want to change the system, we want to change things more often than now.
Hmm.
I really think Rang De Basanti was so nicely put in terms of sentiments about the country. I think it was, I have no words to actually explain as to how good that movie was.
It's such a powerful watch. Like the way it's written,
Very.
the way the Indian freedom struggle with Chandrasekhar Azad, with Bhagat Singh, all were sort of put together. So and also this beautiful. Why I love Siddharth's character because he was this Indian person who always just said that India can't be changed, right? Oh, the government sucks. It's a garbage bin. I'm just gonna go to the US, right? So it had so many characters where you relate because growing up you know that, right? That's how a lot of friend group talk that India, nothing can happen to this country won't change. And there would be some people who would say that I'm going to go to the army, I'm going to be in the system, I'm going to make this change. And then there are a lot of neutrals, right, who
Mm.
who say that okay, there's problems in the country but we have to maybe do something. So I feel it had such a great story arc, and how at the end was really bloody and very, very provocative as well. But again, something that I always remember, the climax of this film. I'm just don't want to spoil it. But yeah, one of the powerful performances from Aamir Khan. Amazing songs, amazing steps,
Mhm.
those iconic moments.
Yeah,
Uh,
Rahman.
A.R. Rahman is that
I mean,
that
his music.
yeah, lose
Oh my
control,
God.
right?
He was at the peak as well. I mean, I think people don't
Yeah.
talk about him as much. I would love to do a music segment and,
Oh
would love
yeah.
on and on and on and on about A.R. Rahman because he's such an inspiration in terms of my music. And I grew up listening to his music. So very,
Yeah.
very excited about that.
Amir Khan's like that lose control, where he just uses like iconic step.
Yes.
Yeah, I used to copy that. It's like everyone in the school copied that step. Yeah, it was such a cool film, but also had such a powerful social commentary as well. Now the third film,
Mm.
this came out in 2003. It's a comedy as well. Munna Bhai Mbbs. Rajkumar Hirani,
Yeah.
Sanjay Dutt's
Mhm.
comeback film, and I think it's one of his career's best performance. Like it's so iconic, his role as Munna Bhai, and then Arshad Warsi's legendary performance as Circuit, and then you had Bomin Irani. Like Bomin Irani actually came to the scene after Munna Bhai, so it's just like legendary performances. Rajkumar Hirani showing who he was, and then he cemented after Three Idiots, after that in PK. But again, Munna Bhai MBBS, a classic comedy film, and it has such a powerful social message as well, right? So I really enjoyed that film as well. I didn't watch Munna Bhai MBBS in theaters. I was very small, so I wasn't really interested in watching anything comedy, but I was just interested in watching Spider-Man or anything
Mhm.
action oriented at that point when I was in like so small. Did you get a chance to watch this in theaters, Munna Bhai MBBS, or did you watch it on television like me?
No, no, I did not. No, I did not watch it. I watched it on DVD, I guess, that time.
Oh yeah, DVDs. We used to rent DVDs. Yes, I remember that too.
So I watched it on DVD. Um, yeah, but I regret not watching Rang De Basanti in the theaters. There are some movies that I would really love to talk about that I did not watch in the theaters, and I wish I
Okay,
did.
I see.
Uh,
I'm so happy that I have watched Rang De Basanti in theater. Munna Bhai MBBS. Like Munna Bhai MBBS is great. Uh, Moving on to the fourth number, it's an Amir Khan film. Four films discussing, three of them Amir Khan. The title on IMDb is Like Stars on Earth.
Taare Zameen Par.
Yeah, like stars on earth. So 2007, I watched this in theater as well. I'm so
I
happy that
watched it in the theater.
I'm so
Yes.
happy about it as well. The Taare Zameen Par, I watched it recently, and I feel that it was so way ahead of its time. Because I remember one thing, I'll tell you. So I watched it with my family. So I have a little brother. So I was watching it with my mom. I loved it. I loved it. Everyone loved it. My mom, I feel that she was like, "Oh, why this film didn't had like Aamir Khan playing that lead?" So she liked it, but like this Indian sensibility of that watching a film, the way you have a lead actor, a lead actress, they romance, they sing, but this film,
Mm.
the main actor was a little kid. The Shield Safari, he became an instant celebrity after that film, but such a great film. It talked about dyslexia, and
Mhm.
it actually talked about something really sensitive, right? It talked about disabilities, it talked about sensitivity in education, the gaps in education, right? And
Mhm.
it was directed by Amir Khan and Amol Gupte. So Amir Khan, he's a sensitive creator as well. That's what I've read. That's why I respect Amir Khan so much. He's just not
Mhm.
an actor, but rather he has a talent of actually telling stories that he personally connects with, right?
Mhm.
Do you have any thoughts
Yeah, I
about
mean,
this?
I agree. I agree to that because, the reason I watched Taare Zameen Par um, during a time when I was actually struggling in school myself. When I watched the movie in the hall, I remember I could relate, if not completely, I could relate to the Shield Safari so much. I was just crying throughout the movie because, like, I'm not talking about the dyslexia part of things, but like when the child is underperforming and the sibling is the one who's the super performer, right? There's this whole dynamic at home where there's this one kid who's like an all-star performer, and then there's another child who's not performing at all. So like the whole dynamics of it, how parents treat you, how your father treats you, like like how you're punished and stuff. um I think I could relate to that because I was never really that bright of a student. I was not really, compared to my sibling, I was never really that bright. So I could kind of relate to that bit where maybe my mom would understand that my skills or my creativity was somewhere else, but my dad would be like frustrated with the fact that I couldn't even complete an algebra, right? Like an equation.
Hmm.
So I think it really stayed with me. I don't watch that movie very often because it really brings back my high school memories, like, the time when I was struggling. So it's very tough for me to watch that. But I loved the movie. Like, I think it's a movie that everybody should watch.
Yeah, and the music was beautiful as well. The ending, everything, like the whole plot, it was
Mhm.
beautiful. Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think it's again Amir Khan making films about relevant Indian social messages where he was
Mhm.
bang on, like what's happening. Can you give just one second? I just
Mhm.
wanna check on my camera recording. 1 second.
Sure.
I'll be back. Oh, sorry. I was just making sure that my camera
It's
is still
recording.
recording.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
kind of
it is. It
scary
is.
sometimes.
Yeah, always good to just check. I was just sure. Yeah, yeah. But
Mhm.
again, uh, as we were talking about, uh, that Taare Zameen Par, another iconic film. Again, it's very hard to rewatch it, as I definitely understand it bring back that memory. But I feel
Mhm.
I would recommend that film anytime to anyone.
Yeah, exactly. It's a must watch.
Yeah. Now, fifth, I love this film as well. Watched it in the theaters. One of the best Shah Rukh Khan performances of all time. Now, this film is iconic in that sense because Shah Rukh Khan in the 90s, he and even up till Kal Ho Na Ho, he's known to be a charmer, to be someone who just has this iconic sort of steps of like extending his arms, singing, being this chocolate boy. But
Being Rahul.
as a Rahul, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, 2007, he stars in Chak De India.
Oh, I love
Now,
that movie.
Chak De
Oh my
India.
God. Yeah.
he is not playing the Shah Rukh Khan that we know. He's playing this dark, almost a broken man, who's been let down by his own country, right? He's been discarded. He's
Mm-hmm.
been called as a traitor. He's a hockey player, and
Mm.
now he gets a chance to sort of redeem himself, and he now coaches underdog Indian women team. Now, this is kind of a story that I really like. A sports underdog against all the odd stories, right? Where it's about that
Mm-hmm.
everything is against them, but somehow they persevere. Your thoughts on Chak De India?
So, if anyone was to ask me which movies of Shah Rukh Khan would I tell them to watch, I think within the top three movies, Chak De India would be maybe number two or three, after Kal Ho Na Ho. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and there are reasons to it. I think there are lots of sports movies out there. We all have watched Bhag Milka Bhag. We have all watched so many others, right? Mary Com. There have been so many movies. They were amazing. But what I really loved about Chak De India was I love the fact that for a change, Shah Rukh Khan decided to step aside and make the hockey team, become the highlight in the movie and not himself. And number two, I think it was one of his strongest performances in a negative role. Like, I think he is actually more like in a negative role because he's trying to redeem himself through coaching the hockey team. So I really think it was one of his finest movies. And if I were to talk about some of the best sports oriented movies, um, I would talk about Chak De India, Lagan, and 83.
Yeah, no,
So
Chuck, definitely you're right. Again,
great movie.
there are a lot of great sports films, but I feel Chak De India is my top pick because the story is so relevant that it's talking about
Mm,
the struggle of first of all, athletes all over India, they struggle, and especially if you're not playing cricket, because cricket
yeah,
is one sport that get all the attention, all the money. Hockey, it's very difficult, and even any athletic sport as well. But
mhm,
now imagine you're a woman trying to break into the hockey team. You have society that is discriminating against you. There is sexism, there is patriarchy, there is this corrupt sports administration against all, and plus they come from different parts of India, right? So someone is Punjabi, someone is from Northeast, someone is from Bengal, someone is from South India, some from tribal Orissa. No one speaks the same language, and then
mhm,
this particular person who, again, when you say negative role, in that sense that he is playing that person who's not likable, but he's real, he is trying to redeem
mhm,
himself. But
mhm.
yeah, his one iconic speech about at the
The
end,
70 minute.
yeah, that was like amazing, and I love that. Like since then, I feel that I wish Shah Rukh Khan just he's a proper actor. I wish that he just chooses some of these roles occasionally where he actually gets to play these character, which is just not about him romancing someone, right? But
Exactly.
but yeah, again, Chak De India. Again, 2000 films are such great films that again, me and you, I think because now as we were not like very like we were not small kids, we are not
Hmm.
also uh like I would say like adults yet. We are in this sweet
Mhm.
spot where these films are shaping our thinking, right? So all these
Yeah.
films are informing me that okay, in life there is discrimination against women. There is a system that's corrupt that doesn't appreciate athletes enough. So I'm also learning all these things, right, through these films. So these are so informative as well, and they shape my outlook now, right? Now if I have to think
Exactly.
about myself, all the ideas that I have, I feel that somehow they influence me, right? So that's why I feel that these are just not entertainment for me, but rather life changing because they are
Mm.
sort of making me think more about these things. I have a theory that a lot of parents, they don't have that complex thinking because the movies that they were watching were not so well developed or well rounded, right?
Yeah.
They were just more about badla, and I see that as a country we were there, but I feel 2000s was this dynamic time of change where we were talking about a lot of different things. Now now talking from things, now sort of moving from film that actually informed us to a film that informed me about nothing at all. Hera Pheri. Like this film was so senseless. It was so non-educational, but it was so fun. Like this
Oh my.
was the exact a sketch comedy skit where you have these three characters all in these hilarious situations with this wacky world, and it's just amazing. So 2000s, this movie released in 2000s. This is a proper so this is a film. I feel I didn't watch it in theaters since I've watched it on television on reruns. But yeah, Akshay Kumar, Sunil Shetty, Paresh Rawal, directed by Priyadarshan, Tabbu, iconic film, iconic cast, and I feel it's one of those comedy films in India. It is a cult. Even today, we have Hera Pheri memes. Even today,
We
people.
still do. I make them still. I love them.
It's
I'm
20.
very cringe about it.
It's 23 years now, and we still make Hera Pheri memes. It means that it means that the characters that were written were iconic, right? And I don't really want to talk a lot about it, but do you have anything to say about Hera Pheri?
I think Hera Pheri, for anybody, it's a no-brainer de-stressor movie for
Yeah.
anybody to watch. So I think that's the only thing I will go for, and I still watch it. So like whenever like I'm having dinner and I don't know which movie to watch, I just play, Hera Pheri, and then I go like, okay, let me just watch this, because it's
Yeah.
easy to just sit and watch something without, whacking your brains.
Yeah, and it has got an 8.1 as well. So it's critically, people love it. Just people love it, I feel.
Mhm.
Okay, so
Mhm.
next film
Nice.
is so stupid. I don't know why this is on seventh. I wouldn't put it on seven, but it is iconic. Okay, I'll give you a hint. So on IMDb, the title of this film is Gardener. Translate that to
Mali.
Hindi. You know this
Mali.
film, Gardener. Yeah, but I had no idea that this translated as Gardener. Bhagban.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh,
this is
okay.
so stupid. I was like, when I watched this, one, huh? Gardener, what that? And you're right, gardener is Mali, but no, Bhagban also means gardener for some reason. So they want to say that parents are gardener. Bhagwan is, oh my God, it's for a kid.
You
I
didn't
don't.
like it? Okay, I'm
No, no,
surprised
no,
you didn't like
no, no,
it.
no, no. No. I liked it, but as a kid, I have a problem with this film because this is the film where your parents
It
emotionally,
reminded your parents.
yeah, they guilt you. So I no, 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 I liked it. No, I really liked it. But again,
Uh-huh.
I feel that this film wasn't meant for young kids. It was more about our parents, our grandparents, right? This was like directly talking with them. But yeah, Amitabh Bachchan, Hema Malini, then you had a bunch of side
You had
characters as
Salman
their
Khan in it.
children. Salman Khan is there. He comes towards the end as this
Hmm.
very sanskari
Adopted son.
adopted
Yes.
son. No, I'm again. I'm not saying I don't like it. It's a nice film, but I have a problem with this because this film is it gets referenced by so many grandparents, so many parents, and it has so many
Hmm.
memes. Right? You're being Bhagban.
It does.
It has like so many memes. So giving some context is that I'm just some of them who haven't watched Bhagwan is that it's about an older couple who has, on the surface, these beautiful children who are married now. Now, Amitabh Bachchan, he retires. Now, what happens is after he retires, his children, they are busy in their own lives. They don't care about them. They make this arrangement where Amitabh Bachchan, the husband, would live with uh, some of the children's for a while, and while the wife Hema Malini would live with some of them for a while. So they separate the couple. They don't look after them well. They treat them as second class citizens in their own homes. They don't respect them. They don't really take care of them. And then eventually Salman Khan, who is the adopted son, he comes back from, I'm believing, from America or somewhere outside India. And then he's super rich. He's a baller. He buys them a house, and then and then Amitabh Bachchan, he writes a book Bhagban, where he disses all the children that all my children are, in a nutshell, are assholes. And yeah, so the message that I got is never have children because they're assholes. The message that my parents got, that my kids like me won't take care of them. So it is a very complicated film for an Indian household. That's what I realized. But it's a good
Yeah.
film. It's relevant. It's relevant.
I have a funny memory about this movie. So basically, it was Eid when I think we were at some family friend's place, and we were like three families or four families, in the house. And then one family wanted to watch it all together. They're like, okay, it's Eid day. Let us just sit and watch this movie. And instead of enjoying the whole experience of watching it together, it became like a whole sobbing story of like
Oh
parents
yeah.
just crying and then them looking at us, and we're like all dressed up and they're like, yeah, this is exactly what you're gonna do to us. And we all are just like, wait, what did we do? Like, this is just a movie, right? So it was kind of funny like that, like how you're saying that it backfired. It actually did, because now whenever we argue, for example, we have a constructive argument, they would be like, see, this is the kind of movie, like, you remember that movie we watched? They forget the name of the movie. They're like, you remember the kids diss the kid, like the parents? That's
Yeah.
exactly what you're gonna
Yeah.
do. And it's become it's a good
It,
movie, but oh, it backfired on the younger generation.
it did. But anyways, nothing. But it has a very iconic Holi song that still plays during Holi. So I remember that.
Also, it has Chali Chali. I think it was really a good song where Amitabh
Yeah.
Bachchan dances and stuff. I love that song a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah, again, I like Amitabh Bachchan and Hema Malini, both of them. They have such a good on-screen chemistry, so I'll
Mhm.
give it to that. And now this movie, I love this film. I don't know, like this is an underrated film, and a lot of people haven't watched, but I watched this in a theater as well. Okay, my dad, I remember that he is a movie buff, so he took us to any movie, even if it has no stars in it, he will just take us there, right? So I watched in 2000s, I watched a lot of films. Khosla Ka Ghosla, it came out in 2006. Have you watched it?
I watched it, and I watched it way later in life, and I was very surprised by the movie.
It is such a great film. Like we watched again in 2006. We like no one was watching. Like this was a very small budget film. It had no popular actor. Dibakar Banerjee, he's a great director, but still relatively unknown. It just had Anupam Kher that people knew a little bit about, but again,
Mm.
Boman Irani and Anupam Kher, but no one had any hope for it. But this became a huge hit. It became iconic. The story is amazing. There are these iconic scenes, these are iconic storyline. But yeah, like Khosla Ka Ghosla is one of these films, these small budget films that just rely on stories and acting, and they just bang on. So after watching a film like this, I realized one thing really early on, that if a director knows how to tell a story, a relevant story, and the actors are able to pull it off, you don't need like a huge star cast. It will find its audience. So that's why Khosla Ka Ghosla, I love this film and I highly recommend this film to anyone. It still is relevant in 2023. That's what I feel.
Mhm. Mhm.
Ninth film is A Wednesday. Have you watched A Wednesday?
No, I haven't, but I've
So
heard it's a really good movie.
yeah, it stars Nasruddin Shah, Anupam Kher. 2008. That film, it has known actors, no huge stars. It has no songs, just a solid plot. It's about a man who has been corrupt, who is fighting the corrupt system in a very unique way and a vigilante way, where he becomes a terrorist almost. But it's directed by Neeraj Pandey, who is known for directing a lot of thriller like Special 26 and stuff like
Mhm.
that. But a solid film. But again, 2000 has such a range, as you can already see. Sociopolitical, comedy, sports movie,
Mhm.
parents and family dynamics. Uh, a sort of this thriller, a Wednesday, and now in 10th number, and I love this film. It has like 7.1 on IMDb, but I really like this. This is Raajneeti. It came out in 2010. Uh, Ranbir Kapoor, Ajay Devgan, Nana Patekar, Katrina Kaif, Nasiruddin Shah, Manoj Bajpayee, iconic Manoj Bajpayee performance, directed by Prakash Shah, one of the
The
leading sort of
finest.
socio-political directors. How do you like Rajneeti? Any thoughts?
I don't really remember if I watched that movie. I've watched parts of it. So, because it was a political movie and it was a very lengthy one, I believe, I did not really watch that movie. But I've heard that it's a great movie so far.
It is one of the best Indian political movies. I would recommend you revisiting it.
Okay.
Iconic performances. It has such intrigue. Again, this is the kind of political films I wish we make more now, because it's more of
Mhm.
politics is more about self-sabotaging, right? About
Mhm.
gaining power, manipulating. It has everything, and it is so relevant to the Indian politics as well. So that's
Mhm.
why it's one of the greatest political films I've seen in India.
Mhm.
Okay, 11th. Okay, so I'm just gonna quickly now go because there are some films I can just mention. So 11th is Khaki. I vaguely remember this film. To be
Oh,
honest,
okay.
do you like it? Do you want to talk
I
about it?
watched it, and like that time, my sibling told me to watch it. She pestered me to watch it, and I would suggest you, like how you told me to watch Rajneeti, I would actually suggest you to watch
Revisit it.
Khaki, because Khaki was Akshay Kumar's one of the best. I really think Akshay Kumar was really good in it, and
It
the
has Akshay
suspense, the twist
Kumar.
in it is pretty good, huh?
It has Akshay Kumar, Amitabh Bachchan, Ajay Devgan, Aishwarya Rai Bachchan. So
Yes,
stellar star
yes.
cast.
The songs were
Mm.
really good. Remember Wada Raha? So Wada Raha was an iconic, famous song from there, and also Dil Duba, right? Dil Duba.
Oh yeah, I
We
love that
still
song. Yeah,
dance to
I
Dil
love that
Duba in
song. I love that
weddings.
song.
So yeah,
Yeah. Okay, I'll
that's good.
revisit. I'll revisit Khaki. Okay. Great. So I'm getting some films that I need to watch again. I watched it vaguely as a kid on
Mhm.
television. I feel that I need to rewatch it.
Mhm.
Saat Khun Maaf. I've heard good things about it. It hasn't gotten a good IMDb rating apparently. This is a film. Some people really like it. Some people really hate it. I haven't watched it. I have to watch it. Have you watched Saat Khun Maaf?
I've watched it, and there are like 7 stories to it, right? So I
Yeah.
think it's a mixed feeling. Like I would rate Satkun Maaf at 7.5, because there were some plots that I really loved, and there were some plots that I was like, okay. But it was Priyanka Chopra's one of the best.
Yeah, iconic director Vishal Bharadwaj. I love Vishal Bharadwaj.
Mhm.
Uh, Now on 13th, I think this should be way up. I don't agree with this list here. 13th is Lagan, one of my early,
The
yeah.
13th?
Again, it's a user, right? That's a
Yeah.
subjective choice.
Mhm.
Again, but it's a good list. But yeah, it should be in top five. Lagan, iconic film. I watched it last year. It still holds up. It came around 2001. It changed Indian cinema. It changed Amir Khan's career. Ashutosh Gowarikkar's best film. And have you watched the making of Lagan by any chance?
The making of Lagan?
Yeah.
No.
So Lagan as a film is amazing, but
Hmm.
people have to watch the making of Lagan. It's amazing documentary because
Really?
when you see how they made it, it was
Hmm.
against all odds. Like Amir Khan has such, I feel that's why I respect Amir Khan. He is such a visionary that it was almost an impossible film to make at that time. I would definitely recommend you checking out that. But yeah, Lagan, I don't really want to get too much into it, but I feel it's one of the most iconic films. It's one of the best known Indian films out there as well. It got nominated for Oscars for, I think, for best foreign film. It didn't win it, but I wish it would had. But yeah, like a colonial story, an underdog story, a
Yeah.
sports movie, iconic songs,
Talks
iconic
about
performance.
colonialism. Yeah.
Yeah, like British Raj. Favorite film? I want you to talk about it. Dil Chahta Hai. It's on 14th. I disagree with. I think you'll disagree. It also, by the way, it also came around 2001. 2001, Amir Khan, Lagan. and then a stark departure in the same year that shows his range as an actor. Farhan Akhtar, his directorial debut. Uh, Saif Ali Khan's iconic performance, Akshay Khanna's iconic performance, Preeti Zinta, and amazing music. Like, I love Dil Chahta Hai's music up till now. Yeah, your thoughts now.
Dil Chahta Hai, well, I could go on and on about it. I was too young, but I still watch it, and like I don't watch many movies of today. Like I don't watch movies as much now. But if I were to ever, take up movies that I really want to watch, Dil Chahta is one of them because it talks about friendship. And to me, I think friendship is one of the most, after family, friendship is one of the most sacred relationships anybody could have. And we always have these two few friends that we always had. And in friendships, the theme of the movie is all about friendship and love. So I think the whole dynamic of all three of them having dynamics about, for example, Saif Ali Khan having an arranged marriage, having an arranged marriage meeting and then falling in love with a woman, and then Akshay Khanna falling for a woman who's way older to him, way ahead
Hmm.
of the time, right?
Dimple
And
Kapadia.
also, yeah.
She was played by Dimple Kapadia, right?
Yes, exactly. And also Amir Khan, like a person who was never into the whole concept of love and marriage, finally falling in love with someone, who he always got slapped by or hit by. I mean, it was such a refreshing movie during 2001, if you think about it. It's like way ahead of its time kind of a movie.
Do you feel it
And
it, it also defined the era change from 90s to 2000? Like, do
definitely,
you think that was a stepping stone, big stepping stone?
yes. It was in so many ways. It was in so many ways. Where finally we did not have Shah Rukh Khan getting beaten up by a bunch of goons and him at later realizing that he needs to run behind the actress and,
Yeah.
get her, like, oh, Jao, go and get her and things like that. No, there were no heroic things happening in the movie. And it was just simple. I think Dil Chahta Hai was simple at its best.
It was just
uh,
about three friends hanging out. They were just chilling.
Exactly.
They were trying. I think it was the story of the 20s, right? Where you have friends, you fall in love, you fall out of love, then you become adults, then you sincerely. I see it shows that sort of
Relatable.
com relatable complex change. It got going to a trip to Goa became a thing after Dil Chahta Hai. So
Hmm.
this I think this and Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara, these are two films where it was more about at first it was going with your friends to Goa with Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara. That's way after 2010. It's more about going with your friends who are all over the world to this one beautiful destination. So I see like how culture sort of shifts and changes, right?
Also the dynamics of friendship, I think, it shows about how friendships kind of evolve. I mean, no matter how far or near you are, at the end of the day there are some core people in your life, besides your family, who will always be there for you, and especially, it's kind of sad for me to talk about the fact that when I lost my mom nearly 2 months ago, I realized the impact of it. I realized the impact of having friends who I've been friends with forever, but we don't talk on a daily basis. But they were there with me through the thick and thin of it, right? So it's just beautiful. I can go on and
Yeah.
on about the
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. Let's do a part two of this. Let me just talk about two more and three more films before we
sure.
wrap this up. We have these two films, Gangajal and Haasil. I haven't watched Gangajal. I haven't watched Haasil. Have you watched any of these two films?
No, no.
Okay, so this could be on our list that let's watch Gangajal and Haasil. I've heard about these two films. Maybe
Hmm.
it's a good time to check them out. Gangajal, Ajay Devgan. Hasil has Jimmy Shergill. Jimmy Shergill is an actor that I still admire. He is good looking. He has a very sweet personality, and he always
Hmm.
get dumped by a girl. So that's some of the Jimmy
So sad,
Shergill.
especially in Tanu's Manu.
Yeah, so that's what happens with Jimmy Shergill. Now in 70s, I do not agree with this that like it's so low on the list. Kal Ho Na Ho. It's
Oh
one
my
of
God.
yeah, it's so low on the list.
Really?
My top five. Best Shah Rukh Khan film.
Oh.
2003. It came out in 2003. Uh, I have okay. I've watched this almost like more than 10 times or 20 times. I watched
Mm-hmm.
this on TV because it has a continuous reruns. I watched it recently on Netflix. Uh, I feel that why I like this film, it's a vibe. The music, I grew up in that music. I just love that music. I think whenever I speak to any Indian or any Desi person my age, we always, when we like play a like a Casio or a piano, if you guys remember that we used to have the small Casios, and
Yeah.
we just play Har Gari, we just, that's the only song I know how to play because of this film. uh Shah Rukh Khan's iconic performance. Now this film, I like this film. This is such a laugh riot. The first half is so funny. Like it is so funny. It is so hilarious. It is amazing. All the characters are zany, wacky. Then it has such strong emotions, right? It's a perfect mixture of laugh and feeling bad, crying, right? So it's not depressing, it's not like just a comedy, but it's a perfect mixture of rom-com, right? This Karan Johar, Shah Rukh Khan romantic comedy. And I love the chemistry between not Preeti Zinta and Shah Rukh Khan, but Shah Rukh Khan and Saif Ali Khan. I just love their romance.
The brotherhood.
And the way New York is captured, it's the proper NRI film, like a NRI film. But yeah,
Mm.
I just love this film so much. What are your thoughts about Kal Ho Na Ho? What do you like about it?
Shankar, music was Shankar Ehsaan Loy, as far
Yeah.
as I remember. Yes, beautiful music. Iconic because I was at an age where I was just practicing the dance steps of Mahi Way with my friends
Oh, I love the song.
randomly. So I
Yeah.
still know the steps, the hook steps, and I still listen to Kal Ho Na Ho's music.
Yeah, I do
So
too. Yeah.
um, it was one of Shah Rukh Khan's best movies. I mean, I really don't talk much about Shah Rukh Khan in the 90s, but as much as I talk about him in the 2000s. And I think Chak De India, Kal Ho Na Ho, and Dawn.
Oh
Dawn to
yeah.
talk about later. And also Swades. And there were many movies in 2000s that Shah Rukh Khan was iconic in. And
Oh,
um,
after Kal Ho Na Ho on our list, there is Swadesh, so you can talk about Swadesh as well.
yeah. So, like Kal Ho Na Ho is an emotion by itself. I think it talks about a lot of other things as well. Like, I mean, come on, in 2003, talking about, the LGBTQ spectrum as well was not common. So I
Hmm.
really think Karan Johar kind of tapped onto that, even with subtle humor and subtle messaging out there as well. If you take a look at the jokes, or like the way the whole scene is made out to be like, I think it was something that was very cool. I really think that's really cool. I loved the whole Kanta band situation. It was
Yeah.
I was too young
Yeah.
to be understanding that, but
In
was very
retros
funny.
Yeah, in retrospect, like around for 2003, like I feel in 2023 they won't be able to have a character as Kanta Ben, but I feel in 2003 I see they were trying to at least depict like, okay, this is something that's happening. But again, their chemistry was amazing, like Saif Ali
Mm.
Khan, Shah Rukh Khan, and as you mentioned, yeah, as you mentioned, but again, I just feel that into 2023 it's so hard to say what's the right way of portraying it. So that's why
Mm.
I watch older films with this filter that, okay, I'm just watching this when this was made, in not by
Mm.
2023 standard, right? Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. So yeah. Next movie is what? Swades?
Yeah. Swadesh, We the People, iconic because I feel, again, this wasn't a huge hit when it came out in 2004. But Shah Rukh Khan, as you can see in 2000, he's trying to actually pick films that are actually away from his this cheeky sort of romantic lead. Kal Ho Na Ho in 2003 was a huge hit, and I think he had some of the romantic films as well that are not that popular, but people know about it. But Swadesh,
Mm.
at that time didn't get the recognition that it should have gotten, but over the years, as the audience matured, people now appreciate that film. I love this film. I watched it recently, and I feel it's amazing. It's simple. It's sweet. It's about now. It's about this nostalgia that one feel when one is away from home, right? When you for
Yes.
like it's very hard for me. I'm living away from India. uh let's say even if I achieve success in a different country, I learn a lot about in a country that is more developed. But when I go back to India, my only intention is that how can I make my homeland even better, right? And this was one of the
Mm.
sentiments that Mohan I think Bhardwaj, that was his name in this film. He carried that as a scientist with NASA, and he just went back to his village and tried to just sort of recognize what are the struggles that India faces and what are the solutions that he can bring, right? So that's
Mhm.
why I think it's very iconic. It's a simple, down to earth, sweet story.
Mhm. Yeah. It was a very simple movie. I think it touched the hearts of many, non-resident South Asians, right? Because we
Yeah.
did see an influx of migration happening especially in the US in the 90s. Like most of my family members, I would like to say, moved to the US back in the 90s. So, like that speaks volumes about those kind of people. It speaks volumes about people like us who have moved to the Middle East or North America, and we've left everything we had in our country. And whenever we visit our country, we see, how can we make things better? And I like to say this one thing that the non-resident South Asians, we are more connected to our culture and our country more than
Oh yeah.
yeah, yeah.
No, no,
I don't
yeah.
know this
We
nostalgia,
feel
but
no,
we
no.
are more connected to
We
our culture.
we feel more pain for some. I don't know. Why do you think that is? Like I feel more pain. I talk to my parents in India or my friends. They are living in India, but they they don't really care about a lot of stuff. Like, why do you think that is?
I think there's a bit of a guilt playing in the role of it as well. The fact that you had to leave the country and you're living away from home, homesickness is one of them. And then also, when you move to North America or Australia or elsewhere, you're not able to connect to the culture. There is a culture shock that one faces, right? And that's exactly when we try to find our home. So where do we find our home? We find our home in Patel Brothers, or we find our home in some Indian restaurant, right? South Asian restaurant.
Yeah.
We try to find our home within a country that's not even ours. So I really think that's where exactly the sentiments really hit pretty hard. Because me growing up in the Middle East, I moved to the US for my master's, right? So when I did, I remember I just started off my semester for my master's, and it was Eid day. So
Mm-hmm.
I was in between courses. I had to submit some courses like assignments and stuff, and it was my first Eid away from home, and I was alone in my dorm room. Nobody was in the apartment. My family, most of them lived in the suburbs or in New York or so they couldn't make it because it was a weekday. And growing up in the Middle East, some of my memories always were that we used to get holidays during Eid,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
We celebrated Eid as an entire country, like with full, like how Diwali was celebrated in
Yeah,
Dubai.
I felt that in during Diwali, that just like
Yeah,
just went away in November. I just felt
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
I was working during Diwali, right? We were just normal day, normal weekend, but yeah.
Exactly,
And back
exactly.
India, everyone is celebrating. You feel that. You definitely feel that.
I remember I was crying the whole day because I was dressed up. I was still trying to be in that spirit, but it was so sad. Like I could
Yeah.
feel that, I'm not
Yeah.
home, because I
Yeah.
was working and I was studying. So yeah.
But then there's another side to it that when you go back home, you realize that, oh,
I've
that they
changed as a
are
person.
you have changed as a person. But I feel I feel the best way to heal yourself and and to be more mature about it is to recognize that uh you have to find a middle ground, that you have to accept that you're Indian as well, and you're also a bit of wherever you are living, right? Like, let's say someone who is Canadian, right, and who's from India, for them to acknowledge that I'm Indian Canadian, because there will be things back home that I will strongly resonate, but then I live in Canada, and and the way I speak, the way I dress, it depends on the culture that surrounds me, right? So I can't choose one thing, but rather let's just find like a middle space where I choose best of both worlds. Now, that's why I feel movies, they play a big role in NRI culture or non-resident South Asian culture, because I
Exactly.
think this is this middle space where you can enjoy being Indian from a distance. Like, oh, I wanna jam to Mahiwe, where the most blingiest Indian kurta, salwar, but don't really wanna go into that Indian family dramas, that Indian shadi ka drama and all that uh, things that happens when you are back home, right? But
Mm.
yeah, it's a very interesting. That's why I feel uh Karan Johar and Yash Raj, they're very smart. They know that there are desis living in these countries. They have
Yeah.
they are audience, so we need to cater to them too as well. So I
Mm.
read somewhere that NRIs are nothing but an extended family of India. That's how I feel, that even though I'm not part of the mainstream Indian culture, but somehow the things that I do, they become part of that culture, right? Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So if there is an Indian Canadian person who became famous, Indian people was just flock to claim him or her. Oh, he's ours. Like Rishi Sunak, he became the Prime Minister of UK. Oh, he's ours. He's ours.
Let's talk
Right?
about Kamala Harris.
Yeah, Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris as well.
So
Yeah.
that's something. It's very interesting. We'll talk about it in the next part. All right. Thank
Yeah.
you so much, Tasneem. It was always fun chatting with you. I hope
Thank you so much.
yeah, I hope people who watch this may get some perspective, and yeah, we also get some interesting recommendations as well. And always, we cannot cover anything. We are just trying our best to think about the films that me and Tasneem enjoyed and grew up watching.
Exactly. And I hope you all liked watching this episode and stay tuned for more.
Yeah, thanks, guys.